What Ryan Reynolds, has seemingly done, right, is used his power and influence to not only help Blake Lively take over this movie.
Okay, who owns the production company? Who owns the next movie script? I am going to invest myself everywhere. I'm going to be doing your movie premiere. I'm going to be doing promos and making fun of you.
Ryan?
Yep.
You want to take a break?
From Blake? Sure.
In case you haven't caught up with the latest buzz, we've got some shocking news for you. Ryan Reynolds just got the boot from Marvel, or at least that's what the internet seems to believe. One moment, Ryan was busy promoting Deadpool, and Wolverine cracking jokes and pulling off his usual over-the-top marketing stunts. Then, out of nowhere, he found himself at the center of a massive Hollywood scandal. Suddenly, rumors started flying everywhere, with speculation that Disney and Marvel Studios had cut him loose. The internet exploded with fan theories, heated debates, and endless speculation about what really went down behind closed doors. Is this the end of Ryan's Marvel journey? Or is there more to the story than meets the eye?
Are you going to sue Blake Lively too?
Into oblivion, Megan. Wait till you see this lawsuit.
Oh boy.
Over the years, Disney and Ryan Reynolds haven't always been on the same page, mainly because Deadpool's R-rated humor constantly clashes with the family-friendly image that Disney, the billion-dollar company, works hard to maintain. But this time, the dispute runs far deeper than just creative differences. According to industry insiders, Ryan wasn't just stirring up trouble on set, he was allegedly trying to push boundaries in a way that upset the studio. And guess who's at the center of the controversy? Justin Baldoni, the actor and director who's been caught in a high-profile legal battle with Ryan's wife, Blake Lively. So what does Marvel do when one of its biggest stars gets a little too personal with the script? They step in. And if the latest reports are to be believed, they may have stepped in so hard that Ryan won't be stepping back into the MCU at all. The news has sent shockwaves through the industry, leaving fans wondering, is this really the end for Deadpool?
Reynolds approached a senior executive at WME and expressed his deep disdain for Baldoni, going as far as to suggest that the agency is working with a sexual predator.
Social media erupted into chaos when rumors first surfaced that Marvel had allegedly fired Ryan Reynolds, with fans dividing into two passionate camps. One side refused to believe it. After all, Ryan is Deadpool, and there's no way Marvel would be reckless enough to throw away one of its most profitable and beloved characters over some off-screen drama, right? But the other side wasn't so sure. If Disney and Marvel have proven anything over the past few years, it's that they're not afraid to cut ties with even their biggest stars when controversy strikes. Jonathan Majors, anyone, and with Ryan. Deeply tangled in the scandal involving Justin Baldoni, Blake Lively, and the film It Ends With Us, some fans are beginning to wonder, did he finally cross a line that Marvel wasn't willing to overlook? Could this be the moment when Deadpool gets axed for good?
All agree that the moral crimes committed here by Ryan Reynolds against Justin Baldoni have amounted to high treason.
But wait, it gets even messier because standing right at the center of all this chaos and controversy is none other than Ryan's longtime friend, co-star, and professional roast buddy, Hugh Jackman. Fans have been desperately waiting to hear where Hugh stands in all of this. Is he backing Ryan? Is he subtly distancing himself? Or is he completely staying out of the drama? More importantly, does he even know the full story behind this scandal? And what does he really think about it? And the biggest question of all, is Ryan Reynolds truly out of the Marvel Cinematic Universe for good? That's a ton of speculation swirling online, but one thing is certain, the internet never lets go of a juicy Hollywood scandal. So buckle up, because this wild saga is only getting started and the drama is far from over.
No. It's not every day a guy gets to interview the love interest of his best friend's wife, and the guy trying to replace Ryan as a husband, and me as his best mate.
Holy shit.
Let's back up for a second. If you've been anywhere near the internet lately, you've definitely seen the headlines about the explosive lawsuit between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni, a drama so chaotic that it has practically turned Hollywood upside down. Lively has been on a relentless and aggressive mission to take down Baldoni, making serious allegations that have sent shockwaves throughout the industry. Her lawsuit paints him as a manipulative, power-hungry filmmaker, accusing him of engaging in workplace misconduct during the making of It Ends With Us. But there's one major problem. No solid evidence has actually surfaced to support any of these claims. In fact, Baldoni's legal team fired back almost immediately, exposing glaring holes in Lively's accusations and even proving that some of her most shocking claims, like the infamous intimacy coordinator scandal, were completely fabricated and misleading.
Really want to be friends with you. Like, he literally tells Ryan he wants to be friends with you. And I could just see Ryan sitting there like, yes, this is exactly what I want, a puppy to kick in the mouth.
He really, really wants to be friends with you. Like, he literally looks Ryan in the eyes and outright says it. I want to be friends with you. And I can just picture Ryan sitting there trying to process this moment, internally rolling his eyes like, yes, this is exactly what I've always dreamed of. A puppy running straight toward me, just waiting to be kicked in the mouth. The sheer irony of it all is almost too much to handle. And honestly, you can just feel the awkwardness radiating from the situation.
To me, he tried to get Justin Baldoni dropped from WME multiple times before they did, okay? So all of those articles that came out when Justin got dropped and they were denying that Ryan Reynolds had anything to do with it, those were PR teams that were working overtime behind the scenes, likely their PR team. Leslie Sloan, it's not true. No, it's never. That is a fact.
It's not hard to imagine that Blake couldn't have pulled off all these moves alone. Sure, she's an A-lister with Taylor Swift as her bestie, but when it comes to true power in Hollywood, she doesn't exactly have the clout to get major. Media outlets like the New York Times involved in this messy legal battle. And that's where things get interesting, because she wasn't acting alone. What if I told you that the real mastermind behind it all was none other than Ryan Reynolds himself? Yep, turns out Deadpool plots just as well in real life. According to industry insiders, Ryan wasn't just a devoted husband in this fight. He was allegedly the one pulling the strings from behind the scenes, orchestrating a full-blown smear campaign against Baldoni while keeping his own name squeaky clean. And this isn't just some wild fan theory. Baldoni's legal team has receipts. Court documents suggest that not only did Ryan allegedly help Blake take over It Ends With Us, but he was also deeply involved in getting Baldoni blacklisted from Hollywood altogether. It gets worse. Insiders claim he even pressured WME, the agency that represents them both, into dropping Baldoni with no solid evidence, just the influence of an A-list star who had it out for his wife's director. But you know what's truly insane? Ryan had his PR team working overtime to clean up any mess he made, ensuring the public never saw past his cool, charming good guy image. It's almost too perfect. Maybe a little too perfect.
Give me your phone. I'm going to draft a statement that Justin Baldoni and Wayfarer have to read, because the public noticed that her press appearances were weird. They found her to not be deep at all. They didn't like that she was promoting her hair products. They didn't like that she was not taking the theme of domestic violence seriously. And then they found these old videos of her.
Candace really nailed it when she broke down Ryan's sneaky moves in one of her episodes. Let's be real. Celebrities like Ryan, who come off as squeaky clean and incredibly lovable, often turn out to have some of the nastiest personalities. Behind the scenes, everyone adores Deadpool, from little kids to die-hard Marvel fans. But if these allegations are true, look at the ruthless moves he's allegedly making against a fellow actor, all under the guise of defending his wife's integrity. But let's be honest, we all know by now this has way more to do with Ryan's own insecurities than anything else. A key part of Lively's lawsuit accused Baldoni of running a smear campaign against her, supposedly to silence her and stop her from speaking out. But here's the twist. The whole smear campaign accusation came right after Lively started, facing heavy backlash during the film's promotional tour. Fans called out her awkward body language, the way she shamelessly promoted her own brand, and even her overall energy. Many, especially on TikTok, felt like something was off. Almost. As if she wasn't really being herself. And here's where things get even wilder. Do you know what Ryan allegedly did behind the scenes?
What Ryan Reynolds, has seemingly done, right, is used his power and influence to not only help Blake Lively take over this movie, but, he's used it, on Deadpool and to make fun of Justin Baldoni.
You know what? Give me your phone. I'm going to draft a statement that Justin Baldoni and Wayfarer must read, because the public is already noticing the backlash. People picked up on how awkward and off Blake seemed during her press appearances. They felt like she lacked depth, wasn't really connecting with the film's themes, and, let's be real, they hated that she kept using every interview to push her hair products instead of taking the subject of domestic violence seriously. But that wasn't even the worst part. As the criticism spread, people dug even deeper and started uncovering old videos of her, clips that only made the situation way more controversial. And just like that, the internet had all the fuel it needed to turn the backlash into a full-blown scandal. Isn't it wild that the only solution Ryan could come up with was to strong-arm Baldoni and Wayfarer into releasing a statement to cover for his wife? He wanted them to take the blame for something they didn't even do. But really, what would it have cost Blake to just go live, answer a few questions, and own up to how she handled herself? Sometimes you really have to wonder what's real in Hollywood and what's just a carefully controlled narrative. There are so many powerful forces working behind the scenes, pulling strings, shaping public perception, forces we wouldn't even suspect of doing something sinister. Naturally, Baldoni refused to read the bogus statement Ryan allegedly wrote. He wasn't about to lie on himself just to protect someone else's wife. And what did he get in return for refusing? A smear campaign lawsuit. It's crazy how powerful PR machines can be. The way they manipulate the media to make or break a celebrity is mind-blowing. All they have to do is plant a few articles in so-called reputable news outlets, pay the right people, leak selective details, and boom, we're all thinking exactly how they want us to. Believe it or not, this happens every single day. Baldoni's legal team even went as far as accusing Ryan directly of weaponizing his Hollywood influence to push Blake's side of the story. And if that wasn't enough, they claim he used Marvel and Deadpool's massive reach to turn Baldoni into nothing more than a public punchline. Isn't it wild that the only solution Ryan could come up with was to strong-arm Baldoni and Wayfarer into releasing a statement to cover for his wife? He wanted them to take the blame for something they didn't even do. But really, what would it have cost Blake to just go live, answer a few questions, and own up to how she handled herself? Sometimes, you really have to wonder what's real in Hollywood and what's just a carefully controlled narrative. There are so many powerful forces working behind the scenes, pulling strings, shaping public perception, forces we wouldn't even suspect of doing something sinister. Naturally, Baldoni refused to read the bogus statement Ryan allegedly wrote. He wasn't about to lie on himself just to protect someone else's wife. And what did he get in return for refusing? A smear campaign lawsuit. It's crazy how powerful PR machines can be. The way they manipulate the media to make or break a celebrity is mind-blowing. All they have to do is plant a few articles in so-called reputable news outlets, pay the right people, leak selective details, and boom, we're all thinking exactly how they want us to. Believe it or not, this happens every single day. Baldoni's legal team even went as far as accusing Ryan directly of weaponizing his Hollywood influence to push Blake's side of the story. And if that wasn't enough, they claim he used Marvel and Deadpool's massive reach to turn Baldoni into nothing more than a public punchline. What many thought was just another instance of Deadpool's usual fourth wall-breaking humor turned out to be something much deeper. Meet Niece Pool, a Deadpool variant played by Ryan Reynolds himself in Deadpool and Wolverine. At first glance, Niece Pool seems like just another quirky, over-the-top character in Deadpool's multiverse of madness, but when you take a closer look, you'll see exactly why Baldoni's legal team was quick to call it out. Just check out his signature look. Who does that remind you of? That man bun on Nice Pool is a dead giveaway. It looks strikingly similar to the one Justin Baldoni has famously worn for years, especially back in the day when he was giving TED talks about masculinity, feminism, and social issues. But Ryan didn't stop at just mimicking Baldoni's hairstyle. He took things even further. He made Nice Pool an over-the-top, self-righteous feminist, constantly reminding everyone around him of his moral superiority. If you haven't seen this skit yet, check it out. You won't need to watch it twice to notice the thinly veiled jabs at Baldoni's public persona. The dialogue about Lady Pool, yeah, that's clearly a reference to Blake Lively and her lawsuit against Baldoni. In that case, she accused him of body-shaming her after he allegedly asked their shared trainer about her weight. Ryan was apparently so offended by this that he publicly called Baldoni out. And that wasn't even the worst part. There's an Mumjorn wide entire scene where either Deadpool or Nice Pool yells, "Where in God's name is the intimacy coordinator?" A not-so-subtle reference to yet another one of Blake Lively's accusations against Baldoni. If you thought that was where the mockery ended, think again. Enter Dogpool, a literal lapdog in Deadpool's universe. According to Baldoni's legal team, this was Ryan's way of portraying Baldoni as a Hollywood pushover, a guy who hides behind his nice guy persona but lacks real power. And honestly, The message behind Dogpool is so layered and cutting that it makes you wonder, just how much does Ryan Reynolds dislike Justin Baldoni? It's pretty clear that this feud is personal, and Ryan isn't afraid to let the whole world know. Oh, and if you haven't met Mary Poppins yet, well, let's just say things only get messier from here. What you probably thought was just another one of Deadpool's classic fourth wall breaking moments turned out to be something much deeper. Meet Nice Pool, a Deadpool variant played by none other than Ryan Reynolds himself in Deadpool and Wolverine. At first glance, Nice Pool just seems like another wild, over-the-top character in Deadpool's ever-chaotic multiversal madness. But when you really stop and take a closer look, you'll see exactly why Baldoni's legal team was spot on with their accusations. Just check out the character's signature look. It doesn't take a genius to see who he was inspired by. That slicked-back man bun Nice Pool is rocking. It's almost identical to the one Baldoni has been known for, especially during the time when he was giving those viral TED Talks about masculinity, feminism, and gender roles. But Ryan didn't just stop at copying his physical appearance. Oh, no, he took it a step further. He crafted Nice Pool's entire personality to be a direct jab at Baldoni, making him an over-the-top, self-righteous feminist who constantly preaches about his so-called moral superiority. Seriously, just listen to the dialogue. It doesn't take much to notice the thinly veiled jabs at Baldoni's public image. And if you still think this is all just a coincidence, let's talk about the most blatant reference, Lady Pool. The moment Deadpool starts talking about Lady Pool, it's pretty clear that this is a direct reference to Blake Lively and her bombshell lawsuit against Baldoni. In case you missed it, one of the claims in her lawsuit was that Baldoni allegedly body-shamed her, even going as far as asking their shared trainer how much she weighed. And guess who took major offense to that? Yep, Ryan Reynolds. He was so outraged that he even publicly called out Baldoni, making sure the world knew how disgusted he was. But wait, it gets even more obvious. There's an entire scene where one of the Deadpools, either Deadpool or Nice Pool, literally shouts, "Where in God's name is the intimacy coordinator?" Sound familiar? Yep, that's because it's a direct shot at Blake's accusations that Baldoni failed to provide an intimacy coordinator on set. And just when you think the mocking stops there, it doesn't. This is where Dogpool enters the picture, a tiny, quirky dog in Deadpool's universe that Baldoni's legal team claims is yet another insult. According to them, Ryan created Dogpool as a symbolic representation of Baldoni, basically portraying him as a Hollywood pushover who hides behind his nice guy image while actually being spineless. Honestly, the amount of subtle but savage shade packed into this one character is insane. It makes you wonder just how much Ryan actually dislikes Baldoni, because at this point, it feels personal. And if you're still not convinced, well, you probably haven't met Mary Poppins yet. No matter which side you take in this drama, one thing is crystal clear. Ryan definitely went overboard with these scenes. I mean, after all the condescending, digs, and clever jabs, he still made sure his wife filed a massive lawsuit. And not just any lawsuit, 163 pages of some of the most bizarre, over-the-top claims ever made, without any solid proof to back them up. For a guy who's built his reputation on being one of the nicest, most lovable stars in Hollywood, that's a pretty ruthless move. Baldoni's lawyer, Fredman, didn't hold back either. He went as far as claiming that Ryan wasn't just mocking Baldoni. He was actually undermining his own wife's credibility by turning this entire scandal into entertainment for the masses. Now, let's connect the dots here. The feminist jokes? A direct jab at Baldoni's carefully crafted public image as a self-proclaimed male feminist and activist. The snapping back pregnancy comment? A not-so-subtle reminder of Lively's claim that Baldoni allegedly fat-shamed her postpartum. The intimacy coordinator joke? A direct nod to the false allegations that Baldoni's legal team has already completely debunked. And if you take a step back and look at the bigger picture, it's hard not to see how this entire thing wasn't just a series of coincidences. It was a full-blown, calculated humiliation campaign, all wrapped up in Marvel's signature comedic style. According to Fredman, this wasn't just petty. It was deliberate, mean-spirited, and designed to tear Baldoni down while making Ryan and Blake look like the ultimate power couple. But you know what's even more interesting? Ryan isn't the only one with a petty streak. Blake has a history of being just as savage. Remember when we told you she got dragged during the film's press tour? Well, it wasn't just because of how she spoke about the movie. The backlash had a much deeper reason. Want to know why fans and critics really turned on her? It was all because of her sneaky, insensitive remarks. See, the host, Kirsty, had a well-known, long-standing struggle with infertility, something she had publicly spoken about multiple times. So, when the clip of this interview resurfaced, the internet exploded. Fans were absolutely furious that Blake, who was visibly 8 months pregnant at the time, reacted so negatively to a simple, lighthearted congratulations. People just couldn't understand why she took offense when it was so clear that Kirsty meant well, and it only got worse when fans dug up another clip where Blake was seen happily talking about her clothes in a completely different interview. The irony? The same woman who was so upset over pregnancy-related questions was now enthusiastically bragging about her shoes, dress, and overall outfit. Naturally, this did not sit well with people, and the backlash was immediate. Some called her out for being hypocritical, while others thought she was just being difficult for no reason. Whatever the case, it's safe to say that this couple isn't as flawless as they'd like the world to believe. From the clothes to the jewelry she wore in the film, Blake couldn't stop talking about it. Maybe she forgot that everyone already knew she took full control over the wardrobe for her Lily character. This is exactly why the backlash was relentless. Fans just couldn't get over what they saw as her being a mean girl, especially towards Kirsty. But instead of taking accountability, Blake shifted the blame entirely onto Baldoni, claiming he was the one who set her up to get dragged. She even hinted that he had something to do with Kirsty uploading their viral interview clip on social. Media Kirsty, however, was quick to shut that down. She made it very clear that Baldoni had absolutely nothing to do with it. According to her, she decided to upload the video after watching It Ends With Us, and that experience alone triggered all the bad memories of how Blake had treated her. Watching the film brought back emotions she had buried for years, and she finally found the courage to share the clip with the world so people could see the real Blake Lively. The only reason she hesitated for so long was her fear of getting canceled, but in that moment, she had nothing to lose, so she just thought, screw it. Baldoni's lawyer, Brian Fredman, also backed up Kirsty's claims, confirming that the bad press had nothing to do with Baldoni. In fact, he strongly believed that if anyone was to blame, it was Blake herself. According to Fredman, ever since he became Baldoni's lead attorney, he has received countless anonymous messages from people who worked on It Ends With Us and even beyond. Many shared disturbing stories about their personal experiences with Blake, from the way she treated them to the things she said behind the scenes. That's pretty wild, right? We thought so too. Now you can see why Marvel had no choice but to step in. But here's the interesting part. According to reports, Marvel initially brushed everything off. After all, Deadpool has always been known for its edgy, crude humor and pushing boundaries. But when Baldoni's legal team started hinting at potential lawsuits, that's when everything changed. And if there's one thing Marvel hates, it's bad PR and legal troubles, especially when it involves one of their most valuable franchises. Reports say that Marvel executives were furious when they realized just how deep Ryan's personal vendetta ran. One insider even claimed that the entire creative direction of Deadpool and Wolverine became a huge point of contention behind the scenes. Sure, Deadpool is known for satire, but there's a big difference between clever jokes and using a Marvel movie to settle a real-life grudge. Even though Kneespool and Dogpool made it into the final cut, insiders revealed that Marvel was forced to do serious damage control behind the scenes. They allegedly cut out even harsher jokes aimed at Baldoni that never made it past the final edit. And in a last-minute effort to shift the focus, Marvel tried to steer interviews away from controversial details, pushing the multiverse storyline. Instead, Marvel quickly tried to distance itself from Ryan's involvement in creative decisions. While they made efforts to show that he acted alone, it was already too late. The backlash had begun, and they were going to get dragged regardless. Fans have been calling them out non-stop ever since it went viral that the nice pool scene was actually a Baldoni diss. What do you think about that weird skit? Be honest, it's not really funny, is it? Just something off about it. And the way Ryan casually says he wants to take a break from Blake, that feels a little too calculated. It makes you wonder, could the rumors about her having a secret attraction to Baldoni actually be true? Maybe they aren't just baseless gossip after all. Now that Baldoni's legal team has officially put Marvel on notice, things are only getting more tense. The pressure is mounting, and the question is getting too big to ignore. Has Ryan Reynolds officially become too much of a liability for Marvel to keep around? Rumors about him getting dropped from the franchise have been swirling hard, and the speculation is only getting stronger. The next few weeks are shaping up to be very spicy, that's for sure. And just when you thought Ryan's alleged grudge against Justin Baldoni couldn't possibly get any pettier, he took things beyond Deadpool. He actually brought the drama straight into the promotional tour for It Ends With Us. That's right. This wasn't just about a few sly jokes in Deadpool 3. Ryan reportedly went out of his way to mock Baldoni in a promo skit for the very film. At the center of all this controversy, and let's just say, the internet caught on fast. You're probably wondering, what in the world is Ryan's own mother doing in a promo skit for a movie about domestic violence? It's bizarre, right? But here's the craziest part. The entire skit has nothing to do with the actual theme of the movie. We get that the whole thing was supposed to be funny. But let's be honest. Does it seem funny to you? Even Candace Owens couldn't believe her eyes. Think about it for a second. Why is Ryan putting this much energy into promoting a movie he isn't even getting paid a single penny for? He's not contractually obligated to be involved. So who exactly gave him all this power to influence the film's promotion this much? The whole situation is honestly really strange. And if you thought this was weird, just wait. Because Ryan took things a step further. The next move he pulled, well, you're about to be just as shocked as the rest of us. This is the moment where a lot of people completely lost it. I mean, I know there's a chance that the joke in this part just flew over our heads, but the fact that we even have to crack our brains to understand it just makes the whole thing super weird. If you actually get the joke, feel free to share it with us. Maybe we'll see it from a different perspective. But honestly, this is the weirdest part of the clip. It's not just weird, it's really dark. At this point, Justin Baldoni's lawyer, Brian Friedman, had enough. First Deadpool, now a full-blown promotional skit. He was done playing nice. Friedman went all in, calling out Ryan's hypocrisy and accusing him of turning a serious lawsuit into a joke, and not even a funny one. A very dry, tasteless joke at that. The fact that Justin endured all the backlash and the endless online dragging like a champ, that says a lot about his character. He could have fought back publicly, but instead he chose to stay quiet and let Blake control the narrative however she saw fit. Why? Because he knew that stirring up a scandal would jeopardize the film's success. Say what you will about him, but that move took serious guts. Sure, we can't ignore the fact that Baldoni had a huge financial stake in the movie. But the way he was willing to risk his entire Hollywood career just to ensure the film had a safe landing, that was a bold and incredibly risky move. And that's exactly what he did. He knew that by keeping silent, his career might never recover, but he took the high road anyway. That's pretty wild when you think about it. And do you realize just how crazy it is that he and his editors were completely shut out from the final cut of It Ends With Us? According to insider reports, Ryan Reynolds was not just aware of what was happening, he was actually present at key legal meetings between his wife and her lawyers. He allegedly had a direct hand in shaping the way Baldoni was framed in the media, using his Hollywood connections to control the narrative. And that's exactly how major media outlets like the New York Times got involved in this mess. Now, the same PR smear campaign was reportedly being woven into actual entertainment projects, which is a whole new level of petty. The things people do for love, huh? But let's be real. Baldoni is extremely lucky to have compiled those receipts and to have a legal team that's ready for battle. Because without them, this entire situation could have played out very differently for him. And honestly, this drama is far from over. With Friedman in his corner, Baldoni might have stood a chance. But without him, he would have been completely crushed by the powers that be, and no one would have even batted an eye. Just think about it. Being mocked in a Marvel movie just because the lead actor has some personal vendetta against you, that's next level petty. And let's be real, we all know how much Marvel hates bad press, yet here's Ryan, not just dragging them into a lawsuit, but also causing waves in another studio's entire movie promotion. If Marvel was already backing away from him after Deadpool, this skit may have been the final straw. I mean, just think about it. If Ryan Reynolds was really meant to be one of Marvel's biggest stars in the next phase of the MCU, why weren't they publicly defending him? Not only has Marvel refused to comment on the whole scandal, but their executives have been avoiding the topic altogether. The fact that they haven't even released an official statement defending him, despite the non-stop criticism and backlash, just shows how tricky this situation has become. If Ryan was truly safe, wouldn't they have just come out and said it? At this point, it's pretty clear. serious damage has been done to Ryan's once booming reputation. The whole Mr. Nice guy, image, gone, buried, and now people are calling him out for who they think he really is. Recovering from this level of damage seems nearly impossible at this stage, unless, of course, they somehow manage to flip the script on Baldoni. But do they even have enough leverage left to do that? Honestly, the signs aren't looking good. Right now, this whole thing has taken a wild turn, and if Ryan thought he could just walk away unscathed, he might need to rethink that plan. Because from the looks of it, things are only going to get worse from here.